I'm trying to share something. So of course, topic two is about social institutions. We have looked at the role of family, education, and religion. There are several other social institutions, such as economics, politics, and government. The notes are available on topic two. You can go through them and let me know in case there is any issue that I need to address. Today, we want to look at topic three. And our topic three is basically sociological explanations of crime, which I believe we have already learned them in our previous lessons when we were doing introduction to criminology. And so we are just going to look at theoretical explanations of the causes of crime. Of course, as we understand that crime may be caused by social, economic, and also psychological factors, including even biological factors, as it has been brought out by the likes of Cesaro Lombroso, the likes of Rafael Garofalo, and Shelton, who talks about the body types. And, that is the different body types are likely to commit different kinds of crime. And of course, we then look at, of course, I know you've gone through the biological explanations of crime by Lombroso, which is this school of thought has been very common, especially when it comes to how Lombroso tried to explain that criminals tend to have features that are atavistic. Atavistic to mean that these features tend to be going back to backwards generation, maybe to issues like the likes of Ginjanthropus, likes of Egyptopithecus, those early species of human beings, which would have included issues like long jaws, maybe long hands, long fingers. They would have, maybe they would be ugly, but you can realize that present research has confirmed otherwise. The present research is showing different, that crime is viewed differently from whatever we have perceived in the past. And so just let me adapt this. So here we have the concept of crime. We have the concept of crime. And then we want to look in this concept of crime. We want to we are looking now at what are the sociological explanations of crime. So sociological to come the word sociology. So let me just say sociology. The word sociology comes from the word social. Comes from the word social. Comes from the word social. And sociology simply means the study of human societies. And so, in this society, we are studying the patterns of interaction. So we'll be looking at patterns of interaction, patterns of interaction, and how culture is spread from one generation to another. And that's why we are looking at social institutions such as education and to see its effect, the effects it has on ensuring that the values, the cultures, and the patterns of society are passed from one generation to another. So in looking at sociological explanations of crime, we are going to look at two major theories. I know there are several theories of that we have covered in Introduction to Criminology, but when we are looking at sociological explanation, basically we are looking at issues like poverty, social factors. We are looking at social factors like poverty. We are looking at social factors like levels of education, and then we also look at issues like unemployment, the role that unemployment has on individual societies, and how unemployment affects individuals. We have diseases. Just like today, we have coronavirus going on. Of course, in such scenarios, we still have the impacts of crime in such diseased communities. And so today, having looked at explained the features that we are going to base ourselves on, I want us to look at this now, the sociological explanations of crime. We look at two theories majorly. One is anomy, the anomy theory. Sometimes people call it structural strain. Structural strain theory. And then we look at differential association by Edwin Sutherland. Differential association. Basically, anomy or strain theory is a theory that was put in place by Robert Metron. Sorry, it is Robert Merton. M-E-R-T-O-N. Robert Merton. And this differential association is a theory that is put in place by Edwin Sutherland. So these are the major two theories that we'll look at. But of course, we still have other theories. We have social disorganization. Social disorganization is also another set of a theory that is used to explain how individuals choose to become criminals. We even have the Marxism perspective, although that one is more of economic. That's more of economical explanations of crime. But of course, if you look at it from the conflict perspective, then it is more of social. And so these are the theories that we are going to base ourselves in this class for our discussions. And so I will go back to our slide number 1. I just came here to use this space that is available here for me to write some 2 or 3 things. So, of course, what we discuss here is that it's a minute. Yeah, now it's okay. So, of course, what we discuss here is that one thing that we need to recognize is that crime offers a lot of opportunities. so that a society itself will offer a lot of opportunities for crime and criminal activities to occur. So it is the society that will give that opportunity, or it will make it difficult for crime to occur. And this the society can do this by number one, either coming up with prevention mechanisms. It can come up with preventive measures. Society can come up with preventive measures that are put in place to ensure that crime does not occur. But then we have this theory in criminology, which I will also require ask you to look at it at your own time, which you call it broken windows theory. Broken window theory. So broken window theory is a theory in criminology that tries to explain how society leaves some things, or how society will just oversee some things happening and then do something less to ensure that we intersect. We intersect in the. We intercept. We come up with the solutions before the problem escalates. Just like just from a literal perspective, a broken window. Just like a man or maybe a lady or anyone within the homestead will see a window that is broken and will do nothing to ensure that that window has been fixed. And so it is believed that society also behave in the same way, that people will misbehave and the society will just act blindly. And no one will be looking at how can we best solve these problems? How can we look for solutions for these problems? And so that is how the society presents opportunities for crime to occur. That's how societies provide opportunities for crime to occur, or maybe make it difficult for crime to occur. Depending on the measures, if the society decides to fix the broken window, then it means that it is going to be difficult for one to commit crime. And we are using broken window theory because it means that if in your homestead you can see a window that has been broken and you're not fixing it, it means that maybe the next day mtu anaweza pitishia mkono kwa hiyo broken window and take something from the house, even when they have not fully entered the house. And so we need to repair, do maintenance of this broken window. And it is the same way that we need to prepare these broken society fabrics. For instance, we had the social norms that used to bring people together and how people used to survive in the society. These norms are no longer in practice today. People people are like forgetting about these social norms today. And therefore, it is very important that we look at sociological explanations of crime. And one of the reasons as to why we look at these sociological explanations to crime is to try and find out what can we do to repair this broken society so that everything functions as in a way that is desired. Remember, those who have studied sociology, I believe you did introduction to sociology, or you are doing it right now. In the introduction to sociology, we have what we call the functional perspective. Functional perspective. And in this functional perspective, one of the most scholars, one of the most visible scholar that we find in this functional perspective is Emile Durkheim. Emile Durkheim. Emile Durkheim argues that a little or small levels or small amounts of crime is also useful to the society. That we are not going to find ourselves in a scenario that we are living in what we call what we call a utopia society. A utopia society in which things are just moving the way they are supposed to move. There are no crimes, everything is swift. We are not anticipating the risks that we are likely to encounter in future based on the news, what we call the risk society, which we will also be looking at it in our next topics. And so Emile Durkheim argues that some amounts of crime is useful, it is important to the society. How is it important? Because it enables us to maintain the criminal justice system. It enables us to change the laws that if, for instance, there was no law that was addressing that aspect, then we need to come up with a law that will address it. We also need to come up with corrective measures. Sometimes we also, as a society, realize that there are people who have problems in the society as a result of crime, and as therefore we can come up with the means to accommodate such people. Maybe coming up with employment, or maybe having trainings that we are going to engage them, so that these people can become useful members of the society. So, of course, we want to look at the strain theory. Of course, I've told you that strain theory is a theory that was postulated by it was postulated by Robert Metron. And this concept is a sociological interpretation of how criminal behavior is linked to French. Of course, Emile Durkheim is also is also a contributor on that. But the major contributor is Robert Metron. You can see here. This is one of the most important aspects. But as we say, Emile Durkheim, who is a functional sociologist, has also played a very important role in coming up with the strain or anomy theory. So you can see anomy theory, or maybe structural strain theory. And so in this theory, of course, Emile Durkheim takes a different direction, and argues that failure, that crime is a result of failure of individuals to internalize the norms of the society. That once an individual is unable to understand the norms of the society, then they are likely to commit crimes. He also argues that it is as a result of inability to adjust to the changing norms. Remember, societies are changing day in, day out, and as societies change, so do our way of doing things change. And so, when the societies change and become dynamic, it means that we also have to come up with ways in which we are going to change and adopt to these new changes. Remember how as a society we have shifted from agricultural societies. We went into industrial societies, and we are now even in technological advancement societies. And these changes needs people to adapt. And so the inability of people to to adapt to these new changes makes it difficult for people to to respect the rules and regulations that have been set in the society. And so it's very important for us to internalize these norms. It's very important for us to be able to adjust, and also it's very important for us to have to absorb the tension resulting between the conflict within the norms themselves. So, of course, then comes in Robert Merton, who was born around 1910 and lived to 2003. Robert, who was a Harvard University sociologist, went a step further. Robert Merton went a step further to popularize this concept of structural anomy. And according to Robert Merton takes it as this strain as a structural strain or frustration resulting of persons in a particular social structure. So according to Merton, this is what Merton says. Merton says that the society The society will set the goals. The society will come up with the goals. The society will set the goals. What is it that we should be achieved? And then the same society will come up with the means of attaining that success. So means of attaining success. So the society will tell us, what is it that you need to do? So for instance, the society, and this is what from Metron's explanation, Metron argues that a society in these terms of, when it comes up with the goals and the means of attaining these goals, we have groups within the society who are unable to get to these goals. And again, at some point, we will have people who can attain the goals, but without following the means that the society has stated. And so according to Robert Metron then argues that we are going to have different classes as a result of frustration to the goals and the means that the society has set. We will have those people who will adapt and accept the goals of the society and follow the means that have been clearly stated. For instance, if I can give a good example, even you guys are now following the goals that the society has stated. You see, basically, let me delete this so that I can also be able to write something here. So basically, this is what we are saying. That you see, the society will set the goal. And what is this goal? The goal here is success. And this success is in wealth. The goal here is wealth. Let's have money. Sorry. Yeah, the goal here is wealth. It is based on how much money can you, how much money can you make in 1 hour? How much money do you possess in your accounts? What are the resources that you have at home? How many cows do you have? What is the quantity of land that you have? How many children do you have? This is what the society considers to be the goals. And what are the means of achieving these goals? That one, you go to school. You should go to school, which we are basically doing. We are now in school. Go to school, acquire the relevant skills that are necessary. Get a good job from school. Get a good job. Get a good job. Get a job. Then from this job, earn a lot of money. Get money. Get paid. Get paid. Get paid money for what you've worked. Invest in this money in other businesses and other activities so that you can get more resources. As you get more resources, the more you get more resources, the more you become wealthy, and the more you are attaining what the society regards to be success. And so then what happened is that Robert Metron then saw that society is facing a great danger. Society is facing a great danger by basically putting pressure to people to achieve the goals that have been stated. And according to him, he then realized that we will have several groups that are likely to uprise. Several groups are likely to come up as a result of their inability to pursue the goals of the society. And so he talks about 5 groups. 5 groups. These 5 groups, number 1 is conformists. Conformists, people like you, who have accepted to come to school to learn, to study, take the knowledge, and go and use that knowledge to maybe do prosperity. And then we have the ritualists. The ritualists. We have the innovators. We have innovators. We have rebellions, those who are going to rebel. They are going to go to refuse to follow the goals that the society has set. They are going to refuse to follow the means, and they are going to come to set their own goals, to set their own ways of achieving them, including criminality. And that's how this theory becomes useful in explaining crime. So, of course, you can see from this table, from the table that I've shared, where a plus means acceptance, and a negative means rejection. So those where you see a plus, it means these are groups of people that have accepted the means and the or they have either accepted the means or the goals. So, for instance, let us look at the first group, which are the conformists. Sorry, the conformists. And the conformists here are people who are going to accept the societal goals. So they are going to accept the societal goals. That means that for you to be to be declared that you have been maybe you have attained what the society wants, you need to be wealthy. You need to have more quantities of land, and that's why you see that today people are going to grab lands from even lands that were supposed to be used for public utility. So it is going to be grabbed. We are going to have corrupt cases because people want to have as much money as it is possible for them to have. And so we have the conformists who are going to accept the goals, and they are also going to accept the culture. I mean the means of attaining those goals. And so if the society says that we need that our goal is to be successful, and where successful means material wealth, and for you to be material, for you to be wealthy, you need to go to school, get education. And so that is the path that the conformists will follow. Watakubali hizo goals ambazo society may put in place, na watakubali pia njia ambayo wanafaa kutumia ndio wapate the goals that the society has stated. And so those are the conformists. And then we have the innovators. The innovators on the other side, these are now people who will accept the goals of the society. They will ask themselves, okay, the society wants us to be successful, well and good, but they will reject the means. Maybe because there are lack of opportunities. For instance, now you have gone to school. Maybe you accepted the goals, you went to school, you studied, you got very good papers, but you are never employed. And so the means of attaining your goals then is like a dream in a pipe, in a very narrow pipe. And so you decide to come up with new ways. So innovators will accept the goals, work towards the goals, but using an innovative way to come up with their to come up successfully. And this innovation would include even accepting use of crime as a way of obtaining the expected results. And then we have the ritualists. The ritualists on the other side, they will now the funniest thing is that these guys will accept the goals. They will reject the goals of the society. No, we don't want to be successful. If the society treats people, if society wants people to be successful, then that we don't want to be successful. But then they will follow the means. Kama ni shule, wataenda shule, wasome, wafanye kitu yote, na wakimaliza wakuje tu wakae, wafanye vitu zao, and they don't care about the goals that the society has set. And then we have the Retreatisms, the Retreatists. These Retreatists will be people who will now go against everything. Watakataa the goals na watakataa pia the means. So for them, hakuna kitu society itawaambia, neither the means nor the. So these people will come up, form their own goals. They form their own means of attaining success without following the societal prescription. And then we have the rebellion, who might be some conformists who are likely to be rebellious, or some retreatists who are likely to be sorry, that is retreatists who are likely to be to reject the means of the society. And so, of course, we have these groups being described here. Of course, I've already described them from the table, but we are just saying these are people who live a conventional life. These are the conformists now. They accept both the means and the goals of the society, and they work towards that success. So for them, they will, of course, accept. They will always accept the goals. They will also follow the means that are supposed to be followed by the society, that have been stated by the society. The second group, which we have already discussed, but I'm just repeating to create emphasis, the innovators. And this, of course, you have said these people will accept the means, the goals, but reject they will reject the means. Watakubali kukuwa successful, lakini watasema si lazima niende shule ndio nikuwe successful. Maybe naweza anza biashara nikiwa mdogo na nitakuwa successful. Ama maybe I can use my talent to be successful. Si lazima niende shule. So that is, you see, they will accept the goals that yes, I want to be successful. I want to attain the material wealth that the society wants. But if the society has said that for you to attain that material wealth, you have to go to school, they are going to reject. They are not going to go to school. But in the end, they are going to struggle to be successful. So we are saying that these are we are saying that these are people who are going to accept the goals and reject the means. And of course, I call them the innovators because they will attempt to achieve culturally approved goals by using unconventional means. You see, that's why Robert Merton called them innovators, because yes, they will follow the goals that the society has set. They will do everything that is required, but they are going to use unconventional means to achieve. So they are going, instead of investing, they are going to engage in corruption. They are going to engage in criminal activities for them to ensure that they are successful. So these are people who are likely to end up in illegal money practices like maybe money laundering, corruption, maybe stealing, grabbing of public properties and whatever. So these are people who are likely to use unconventional means to achieve their success. We have ritualists, and this a funny group which accepts the means but reject the goals. And so these are people that Merton says that it is a scheme which is showing the mean goal gap. That for him, he says that they are going to accept the means but abandon the goals, and they may resort to strain of limited success. Hawataki sana kukuwa successful venye society inataka. For them, just a minimal kind of life. I think this is we have these people in community that they just want to live an average life. For them, they don't want to be more ambitious. They don't have to have bigger goals that the society has put in place. And they are going to follow the means, but they restrain themselves within the aspect that they don't want to be so much successful that in such a way that they are going to experience a challenge. Then we have retreatisms, who of course are going to reject the goals and reject the means of success, and they are going to come up with their own alternative lifestyle. You remember, like when we were starting the hip hop culture, the pop culture, how people would move maybe with very badge trousers and very walking around with vests, and maybe putting the putting up what we call what name should I give them? The style of the hair, and even the language they would use. Whereas we know that the society wants us to maybe use proper language like English, maybe Kiswahili. That is what society expects from us. And these guys will come up with their own coded language, and they are using a different slang, which is different from whatever other members of the society are using. And so these are people who are going to adopt different lifestyle from what the society expect. They are going to come up with their own means. They are going to define their own goals. So these are people who will not tell them anything. So they will go ahead and become maybe organized criminals, and they will want to attain their own lifestyle, living their post life by using unconventional means. And then we have the rebellions, who can be both from the who can come from both conformists and the retreatists, who are likely to reject both the goals and the means, and people who are likely to accept the goals and the means. The next theory we want to talk about is social disorganization. And social disorganization basically talks about the neighborhoods, how the neighborhood is supposed to be organized. For instance, you look at the family. A family should have a mother, a father, and then children. That's a traditional setup of a family. But then what happens if one parent dies, or maybe parents never get to marry each other after they have had their sons, or maybe divorce comes in? So that disrupts the family. So we are saying that this social disorganization is based on the work of Henry Mackay and Clifford Shaw. And these were members of the Chicago schools. Remember, we had the schools of criminology. Schools of criminology. The schools of criminology. Sorry. We had the Chicago school, which was among one of the earliest schools. We had another school that is we even had the positivist school. Basically grounded on the aspect of use of science in explanations of crime. We even had that school of thought, the pre-enlightenment period, pre-enlightenment school of thought in criminology, the classical, the classical school of criminology. And this classical school of criminology was based on the fact that individuals have what we call free will, and that the actions we take is as a result of making our own choices. Although those who have always argued against this school of thought have argued that sometimes it is circumstances that force us to take certain decisions and not our free will. For instance, a mother who steals a banana to go and prepare supper for his children who have not eaten maybe for the past one day. Is it free will or is it a circumstance? Is it free will or circumstance? So that is one of the things that you need to know. And then we even have the neoclassical school. Neoclassical school of criminology. I know you can find this in our introduction, our DCSS 0104, Introduction to Criminology. And so always, and remember I've told you guys, don't just Don't just read these things for the sake of exams. Huh? Musisome tu hizi, preserve some of this knowledge as, at least at the back of your mind, that you can si lazima utoe kila kitu, but you can just remember. Mtu akikuuliza what are the schools of criminology, at least you can remember we have classical school of criminology, we have the Chicago school of criminology, we have the neoclassical and the positivist school of criminology. And maybe from there you can start thinking and try to explain what is likely, what each school is associated with. So it's very important. And I have always said this personally, because I ever went to an interview where I was requested to go with all my pay slips. Not my pay slips, sorry, my result slips. And so I took my result slips to the interview, and they were all placed on the table. And each interviewer would ask a question about the unit you have learned. So somebody would ask you, I see you learned law of evidence here. What is it that we need to do when we are collecting evidence? Or maybe tell us something about law of evidence. What should we, or maybe what tell us something about circumstantial evidence? These are things that we need to just have these issues in our fingertips. And even in any case, if we have to go by the new system that we are adopting, the CBC, you can now realize that parents are now becoming teachers away from school, and that is a role that you are going to play. So assuming one day maybe mtoto apewe assignment shuleni, maybe in a university apewe aende could discuss how maybe the classical criminology school has been critical in the modern criminology, na kuja kuulize kwa sababu anajua you are also an expert, you did the same field. Usimtume kwa mtoni, mwambie enda ulete maji. Yeah. So just have this content, not for the sake of just exams, but also for the sake of ensuring that you can reproduce this information whenever you can. And of course, we are saying that this theory, social disorganization theory, postulates that neighborhoods plagued with poverty and economic deprivation tend to experience high rates of population turnover, and this will result to high rates of crime. And these neighborhoods also tend to have high population heterogeneity. When you talk about heterogeneity, we are talking about having different subsets within the population. That from that high rates of population, we are likely to have law-abiding citizens, we are likely to have criminals, we are likely to have people with mental issues. And so that society is going to possess a wide characteristics. And this is what is making it to have heterogeneity. That is very many features that are spread across that population. So with high turnover information, with high turnover, of course, with the high population turnover that people live, so many people living in the same area, it is going to lead to informal settlement, where people are settling in areas, so many people settling in one area, like in the case of Kibra, in the other case like Kawangware and among other areas. And this informal structure often leads to, or they often fail to develop. And of course, if they fail to develop, it means there are very few opportunities that are being created, and this then triangulates to crime. So what have we said about social disorganization? What have we said about social disorganization? This is what we are saying, that in social disorganization, we have these areas are characterized by high levels of poverty, and also we have a high level of economic deprivation, economic deprivation. That is to mean there are no more activities to generate income. Hakuna employment, and of course, high poverty levels are already there. Then the area is not developing. We have very few developments that are taking place. That is to end up to creating a scenario whereby we have very few employment opportunities, and this all acts as a breeding ground for criminal activities. I hope that is clear. I want to move to the next theory, which is social learning theory. Of course, I understand that you have already learned this theory, so I'm just making a summary and maybe a reminder on what you need to understand. So social learning theory is a theory that is put in place by Albert Bandura. Albert Bandura. Sometimes it's also good to remember who is the the father of this theory. So according to Albert Bandura argues that crime is as a result of learning. We become criminals as a result of learning criminal activities from others. And Albert Bandura sets up an experiment which he uses the dolls. So this is what Albert Bandura does. In a hall, maybe like just a hall where people go to watch cinema and other activities. So Albert Bandura took what he called a bobo doll. Just a dolly, just some kind of a dolly. And then he took this doll, gave it to adults. So he gave this doll to adults. And adults were supposed to play with this doll. They were allowed to play with it. And the children on the other side, here we have children. You have children on this side. So children were supposed to observe what is happening. Children were supposed to observe what was happening. So on the other side, we have adults playing with a doll. The children are seeing whatever is being, how the adults are playing with the doll. What was realized here is that from the Bandura's experiment, it was realized that these adults reacted very aggressively. They reacted aggressively. That is with a lot of force, with a lot of dislike against the doll. And the children were seeing. Remember, the children are seeing the way the adults are playing with this doll. So then it got to a point that children wanted to play with that doll, and Albert Bandura also delayed the process. He didn't give them that direct chance to go and play with it immediately. So watoto walitaka kucheza naye akawazuia for some time, and then after some time he allowed them to play with the doll. Whatever happened is that the children reacted in the same manner. Vile tu adults walikuwa venye walikuwa aggressive, wakipiga hiyo kitu mateke, wakirusha huko, it is the same way the children reacted to the doll. They reacted actually in the same way. And when they did the same, Albert Bandura was then able to confirm that, okay, kumbe, human behavior is as a result of learning. So we sit somewhere, we'll look at how people are going to act, and we imitate how people have been acting. And so as a result, Albert Bandura then came up and said that social learning is that it is learning that takes place through observation, and observation basically meaning that just sit down and see how people are acting, and then followed by imitation. So imitation to mean you want to reproduce, you want to act in the same way in which these people have been acting. And then the question that I want to ask you as students of criminology, as students of criminology, can criminal behavior be learned in such a way? Ebu, open the mics, you guys. I want us to discuss this. Just open the mic for a while. I want us to discuss this. Of course, I like also engaging the students when we are doing discussions. Good. There, James, can you open your mic too? Now, I want to ask you guys. Jen, what was the last thing you watched?
Bones.
Pardon?
Bones.
I can't hear you.
A movie called Bones.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Oh, you watched a movie called Balls.
Yes.
When was that? Bones.
Yes.
When was that?
Around tano hapo.
Today.
Yes.
Wow, that's even now something that we just watched some few minutes ago. So if I give you, how long was that movie?
1 hour 30 minutes.
1 hour 30 minutes. James.
Hello.
Yes. What was the last thing you watched, James? It can be news, it can be a movie, it can be a drama, it could be just the last thing you watched. James, can you hear me, James? Eh? Okay, it happens that we can't hear you. Let us use the Jen's example. So Jen says she watched a movie. She watched a movie at around 10 today. And the movie took around 1 hour 30 minutes, which means the movie ended maybe roughly at 12. And Jen, we are saying that learning is supposed to take place through observation. So you sat down and observe whatever was happening. If I give you like the same time, like 1 hour 30 minutes, to tell us what you watched in a movie, in that movie, is it possible for you to reproduce everything?
No.
It's not possible.
Yes.
How many of us have seen this movie that people used to see during the early 2000s, Shaolin Soccer or Shaolin Temple, and some of us have been watching wrestling, and maybe Tai Chi Master or all those. After watching those movies, how many of us knows how to fight? Hmm? If I give you an opportunity to fight like Chak Chang after watching him, or Tony Jaa or the others, can you be able to do that?
Not exactly what they did, but
Mm.
let's say something that you saw. Let's say one
Do you
act
think you
being
can even
done.
do you think you can even try and reproduce just one move?
You can try but still fall down. But it won't be perfect, but you will try
Mm.
so hard to perfect what you have seen from the movie.
Do we have Anton in this group? So then we ask ourselves, yes, it's possible for us to learn. It is possible for us to sit back and watch whatever is happening. But how many of us have the capacity to reproduce exactly what we see? I see in wrestling, they usually tell people that don't try this at home. Even if they told us to try it at home, even if they did try and tell us that try this at home, maybe how many of us can do the suicide dives? How many of us could maybe do the uppercuts and the other things that happen in the wrestling? Maybe very few. Maybe some of us will not even try it. And so social learning is then affected by other factors, like one, the period of learning. How long have you been learning? The more you expose yourself to such practice by learning and doing them practically, the more you are able to reproduce that behavior. Sometimes I look at people dancing to a song. Yes, they would reproduce the moves in the song, how maybe the dancers in that song are dancing. But is it going to flow the way the dancers are flowing? Yeah, sometimes yes, sometimes maybe 20% yes and 80% no. And so these are some of the things that we look at when we look at social learning theory. That sometimes we might learn, but this thing, it will depend on how long we are going to learn it. It will also depend on the memory. What's your memory? How long can that information be kept in your mind? Just to ask, I know majority of us studied organic chemistry too in high school. How many of us can draw 2, 3 polymethyl? Or maybe 2, 3 butane. How many of us can do it? Yeah. Are we able to draw? I am sure in high school you would even draw the polyvinyl chloride and even put the extensions on the other side, and you would explain it very well. Or maybe even if you would not explain, but you would know how to draw it. How many of us today can do differentiation and integration? So the period of learning, the time you take for learning, and sometimes learning is selective, that we only learn what we want and leave out other issues that are of no interest to us. So interest is one of the most important aspects. Intelligence is another one. The memory is another aspect that plays a critical role in social learning. Anyway, we have spent a lot of issues on social learning, but that was necessary for us to be able to understand what usually takes place in social learning. Then there comes this theory that we call differential association theory. Differential association theory. Of course, we are saying that differential association theory is associated by the work of Edwin Sutherland, and it is closely related to social learning theory. In that, this theory, the major principle of this theory says that, as just like we can learn other issues, it is also possible for us to learn criminal behavior and criminal activities. We can also learn the criminal values based on how we have been exposed to the definitions of criminal behavior. So here, Edwin Sutherland gives us 9 principles, 9 ways in which criminal behavior can be learned. And so he says that the first principle, he says that criminal behavior can be learned. Edwin Switzerland says that the first principle is that behavior can be learned, and this learning usually takes place within closed relationships. That criminals don't allow everyone to join their groups. There are specific people who can join their groups, and this learning is based on a close, intimate relationship. How do we know you? Venye tunakujua ndio tunakuallow kuje kwa group yetu. Kama hatukujui, we don't allow you to become one of us. He gives the second principle, which he says that criminal violence is learned in interaction with persons in the process of communication. Just like the way we communicate with others and share values, it's the same way that we can learn violence behavior. He also says that how we are going to learn criminal behavior will depend on the frequencies that we are going to meet those groups, the duration, how long have we stayed with this group, the priorities, whatever I was saying, what I was talking about, the interest. What am I interested in? If it is not touching on what I'm interested in, then I am not going to pay attention to it. And then the intensity. What is the intensity of the learning? Is it complex? Is it simple? If it is complex, no. Wacha ikae. And that is why majority of us would find in high school, umeona physics inasumbua kidogo, nasema hii physics wacha nikae, wacha niende nifanye CRE. Or let me leave this chemistry, let me do biology. Because of the complexity, the intensity of learning. How intense is learning? If it is complex, ayo achana nayo. If it is simple, then easy for us to participate in. Of course, I'm trying to rush because I also don't want to take a lot of time from your side. He gives another principle that if my beliefs are favorable to crime, if I believe in crime, then learning becomes easy and I'll be committed to learn. And then also the process of learning also include the modus of operandi, how the crime is being committed. So learning a crime also goes hand in hand with learning the process of commission. You don't just learn how to be a criminal without learning on the modalities and the means and the ways that you are going to do to use for you to commit that crime. And then he talks about learning techniques. There are several learning techniques that are, of course, in criminal activity. And then he talks about reinforcements. When we talk about reinforcement, we are basically talking about the reward system, the rewards and the punishment. Remember, this is one of the most issue that we talk about when we talk about the rational choice theory. The rational choice. The rational choice theory. This rational choice theory argues that criminals are always rational calculators. They are always rational calculators. And that is to mean if they are rational calculators, they will always be weighing, the gains, or let me say the pleasures against the pains. And at any time, if the pleasures outweigh the gains, then an individual will choose to become a criminal. And so, in the process of learning criminal behavior also include learning the reinforcements. What am I going to get after doing all that? How much am I going to earn? And what is the pain that I'm going to go through? If the pain is too much, then my friend, that is not a viable activity to take. And then, of course, he talks about the issues of recruitment, how people are recruited into these groups. Of course, we have already said it is a very closely related, intimate relationship where people know each other very well and they understand each other. And if you are not known by those members of that group, then you are not likely to be considered. So recruitment is based on how well do we know one another, how close do we relate, and how long have we been relating. So those are some of the issues that we look at when we are looking at sociological explanations of crime. And of course, we have looked at several theories. We have looked at social learning, social disorganization, We have looked at differential association, and then we have also looked at strain theory, or anomy. So it's just good to know the main principles of the theory, and also good to know who is behind this theory, who is the founding father of this theory. So I would want to come to an end at that particular point to our topic 3. When we meet next time, we'll be looking at social change, which is our topic 4. But I am opening, if in case you have a question that we can address. Of course, let me look at the public chat if there is any question that has been asked there. There is no any question. So it means on public chat, everything is okay. So there are no questions public chat. I am opening the mic in case you have a question you ask, so that we respond to it before we end the session. So swali, ni wakati wa swali. Maswali yakuje. Maswali. Yes, Omwenga. Kuna swali? Jen, is there a question? Kuna swali?
No.
Okay, if there are no questions, then I want to end the session by saying you guys, thank you for attending the session. Keep on attending our classes. Always remember to attend our classes, because at the end of the session, we'll be looking at 80% or 75% of class attendance. And I don't want to see any one of you being locked out of exam because you never attended the class, the minimum attendance of classes that are required. In case you are unable to attend the class, let me know so that I can be able to tell you what you need to do so that you get you are at par with others. So kwaherini, mkae salama. Make sure that you pay attention to the regulations that are required, and stay safe, sanitize, keep social distances, and things will get back to normal very soon. And maybe we will also meet in a normal classes as usual. But for now, we maintain the same system. We meet when we have classes. Ensure that you have your timetable. I am tired of reminding people to attend classes every time. I have to go back to your groups and tell you that we are having a class and you're supposed to attend. Get the attendance, the timetable. If you don't have the timetable, look at each unit. I've specified the period when the class is supposed to be attended. And so always ensure that you are present. Tuonaneni, kwaherini. I'm going to end the session.
Cha.
Yes.
Anthony and I agreed on Friday to tackle the remaining exams that the exams we did not do. That is criminal justice system, crime prevention, and Anthony said that he did not do law of evidence.
Unfortunately, it's that the results are required as soon as possible. And maybe I would request, even if it is possible, we can at least handle 2 tomorrow and then 2 on Thursday.
Okay, 2 which will be?
You discuss that and then you let me know before the close of the day, so that I can upload the questions. Huh?
Okay.
Yeah. So if for instance you are going to do crime prevention and I know Mwenga did not do it, I don't know. You also need to get in touch with James and Mark.
Are they in the group, or they should send their numbers? I add them.
Maybe they need to give you. I know they have a separate group. There is another separate group for especially those who have been behind you guys. They have another separate group. So I don't know whether it's possible for you to join the group and make it one.
Yeah, because the previous people who are before
Do
us were all
you have
put
Bruce?
in one group.
Do you have Bruce number?
I don't think so.
Hauna namba yoyote ya mtu wa Ilani?
No.
I think I'll give I'll see the modalities on how we need to make that group just to be one, so that we don't have separate groups. Sawa. So for now, let me close the session. You will get in touch. You will tell me what you have decided, at what time specifically, so that we can factor in those issues. Do you have classes tomorrow? Hmm?
No. The next class
Yeah.
we have on Thursday morning.
So we can do it tomorrow. Either it's possible for us to do all of them tomorrow, because we have the whole day. Nani 1 hour na hizo maswali ni optional questions, multiple. In fact, sometimes you even take less than 30 minutes to handle one cut.
Yes.
So I will just let me know if it is possible. I can put all of them tomorrow, but then I have to ensure that we have the timing. Sawa sawa.
Yes.
Kwaherini basi.